Because of my future plans to become a high school educator, I decided that I could create a slideshow lecture that I could present to my class to help raise awareness of the systemic oppression of Hispanic American communities. The goal is to point out the numerous ways in which they are targeted or oppressed, either directly or unknowingly, such as through microaggressions or stereotyping, and to explore the cultural diversity that makes them unique, while counterclaiming some popular and some lesser known stereotypes. This is an example of the presentation I would give. Hispanic American communities in the United States make up over 18% of our current population, yet they are incredibly underrepresented and misrepresented in media. They are constantly targeted by systemic racism and oppression, specifically in working and family institutions. Yet they are one of the most culturally diverse ethnic groups in the United States, with large variations of cultures within the overarching Hispanic American culture. The following is a few of the most common stereotypes associated with Hispanic Americans. One of the most common stereotypes against Hispanic American communities is that Hispanics are less intelligent and don't work nearly as hard as they could be. Now, the truth behind this is that numerous studies have shown how systemic oppression has made obtaining a higher education more difficult for Hispanic Americans, which has even led and reinforced the above stereotype. Studies have also shown that Hispanic Americans are significantly harder workers, working way more hours than the average American is expected to. Another common stereotype against Hispanic Americans is that they are mostly uninvolved or even neglectful in raising their children. Now, this couldn't be further from the truth, as actually Hispanic Americans have been found to be significantly more involved in raising and properly disciplining their children when compared to their Anglo American counterparts. Hispanic American children also report feeling more cared for and closer to their families as well. Now, probably the most controversial and also the least accurate stereotype directed towards Hispanic Americans is that Hispanics break the law more often and contribute more to the nation's crime rate. In truth, studies have shown that Hispanic American communities exhibit a much higher fear of authorities and crime due to these stereotypes and tend to stay within their own communities. Crime rate and police interaction are at an absolute minimum within tight-knit Hispanic American communities. So why get involved? Why build bridges with Hispanic American communities? Well, despite making up the second largest ethnic group in the US behind non-Hispanic whites, they are one of the most subtly oppressed and marginalized in media, as well as in perceptions of family life and work ethic. The reality couldn't be farther from the truth, and there are rich and diverse cultures being repressed due to the unnecessary, extra hardships being imposed on them by an unjust and biased society that pretends these issues don't exist. So, what are some ways that you can get involved? Well, the first thing we can do is communicate. We want to break down the social stigmas present that make conversations about other ethnic groups uncomfortable. Speak out against stereotyping and microaggressions whenever you notice them, even if they're in yourself. Jokes at the expense of entire groups of people are not funny, and they don't make you anything other than a part of the problem. We could also reach out. Look up and find community events or organizations near you that you can attend or be in contact with. Strive to educate others on the truths behind derogatory stereotypes directed towards Hispanic Americans. It's important to remember that ending discrimination starts with ourselves. We need to be role models and be aware of the words and actions of yourself and others. Reach out and don't be afraid to communicate or speak out against injustice, especially when it's obvious. Thank you all for paying attention. I hope you can all be more sensitive and more knowledgeable about Hispanic American communities going forward.